Hi, this is Dina for Splitcoaststampers. In this video, I will share some tips for making kaleidoscope squares. I have started already by die cutting 4 2-inch squares out of heavy cardstock, and I also saved one of my negative cuts to use as a template. I'm going to secure that template in my stamp positioner, and I just used the magnets, but you might also want to use a little tape to be sure that it doesn't move at all. I didn't do that here. The magnets worked fine, but I had a moment where I wondered if I should have used tape. So do that. Position your stamp over the square opening. And this stamp has a curved line, and I want to make sure to get that in there. You can also play around with the placement a little bit depending on your image. I do like to position my stamp image closer to one corner with my final design in mind and leave one corner a little more open, but you can experiment to find what works for you. And truly what works for you may just be not having a plan and coming out with a happy accident. To get started, you're going to tuck one of your die cut squares into the opening in the template, and the template will hold it in place so you don't need any additional tape. Then go ahead and stamp your image. And I did a second impression for a sturdier line, but you don't need to do that if your first impression is fine. I had a quick moment here of how am I going to get that out without moving the template, but I grabbed a post-it note and pressed the adhesive against my square, and I was able to pull it out easily. And a bit of washi tape would work too if you don't have a sticky note handy. If you're happy with the positioning of your stamp, you can go ahead and repeat the stamping step on your remaining 3 squares. Now is where the kaleidoscope action comes in. I set my 4 squares all out in the same direction, and then going around the arrangement, I rotated them so each one is turned a quarter turn more than the one before. So this is one option for positioning, and then from this position you can rotate the pieces each 1/4 turn together to see what other looks you can get. If you go with this type of rotated grouping, you'll have 4 options, and you can play with other groupings and rotations as well. And you can see here how stamping toward one corner can help to create interesting negative space or repetitive shapes in your final design. I'm going to make a square card here, so I have cut a 5-inch square base and I want a layering panel. My squares again are 2 inches and I want a 1/8 inch border around and between them. So my layering panel is 4 3/8 inches square. I colored my stamped pieces off camera and I'm going to assemble my card. I'm just eyeballing the 1/8 inch borders, and I chose this position for the squares because I like how those magenta flowers line up and the way the orange petals make a cross in the center. Instead of a plain base, I decided to make a stencil impression on my card. So here is that stencil. And I like that little bit of added texture. That stencil embossing technique is one of our Splitcoaststampers tutorials, and you can find it on our YouTube channel as well. So here is my completed card. This stamp is one that I drew for Impression Obsession. And then here is a masculine birthday card that I made using a collage image. This one I brushed with ink instead of coloring. If you don't want a square card, you can check the photo tutorial and technique gallery for some rectangle card samples. As always, we look forward to seeing what you create, and thank you so much for watching.